Welcome back to Cannabis Coast to Coast News. This is the C Block, our final section of our weekly newscast for the cannabis industry. I'm Alaina Pinto. Last reminder to download the PCM TV app on the App Store or Google Play to have access instantly to our weekly news show of the best cannabis news around. Okay, download the app. One of the most successful nonprofit groups in cannabis has been the Last Prisoner Project, created by Steve D'Angelo, formerly of Harbor View, announced on Weed Talk Live back in 2019 that he was dedicating the rest of his life to getting all nonviolent, low-level cannabis convicted prisoners out of jail. A huge undertaking, to say the least, but in 5 years, just 5 years, the Last Prisoner Project has worked on hundreds of cases and now is asking President Joe Biden to free as many prisoners as possible before he leaves office. For decades, the White House has pardoned 2 turkeys before Thanksgiving from being the main course on the holiday. Well, now the Last Prisoner Project is creating a hashtag that reads, "Pardon people, not poultry." A YouGov poll in August concluded that Biden's announcement to pardon low-level cannabis offenses was one of his most popular policies of his administration. Biden also urged state governors to offer mass pardons for low-level offenses in their states. And Maryland and Massachusetts pardoned over 175,000 past convictions. Now let's check in on the cannabis stocks with our man, Doug Miller, who is high on Wall Street.
I'm Doug Miller from High on Wall Street with this week's cannabis stock report for Cannabis Coast to Coast. Agrify Corporation announced its intention to acquire certain assets from Double or Nothing LLC, the owner and operator of the Senorita brand of hemp-derived legal THC HDLT drinks, in exchange for 530,000 shares of Agrify common stock or common stock equivalents. The transaction is expected to close before the end of the year. Senorita offers consumers HDLT beverages that mirror well-known cocktails like margarita in 2 flavors, classic and mango. It's known for its clean, fresh flavors and commitment to high-quality, natural ingredients. Senorita offers a low-sugar, low-calorie alternative to alcoholic beverages. So let's see how this affects Agrify's stock chart. It's trading around $14.60, and it has jumped up quite a bit in the last few days. So it's right at the top. I would wait for some pullback and a better price, and always trade smart and lock in those profits. And that's this week's Cannabis Stock Report. Reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast, I'm Doug Miller.
Now that Florida has said no to adult use, the existing medical operators who spent millions on the Yes on 3 campaign have to regroup. Keep in mind that the Florida medical market is still one of the biggest in the country, with over 800,000 registered patients and a market that BDSA projects to be $2.7 billion. BDSA is a large cannabis data and analytics firm. Trulieve is still the biggest operator in that state, but Air Wellness is still moving ahead with plans to expand its indoor grow facility in Ocala. It's tricky growing this plant, no matter what the climate outside is, and replicating perfect indoor growing conditions is a challenge. The state of Ohio continues to go through its growing pains, and now that state is starting to watch the flow of tax money and if it is reaching the people it's supposed to help. Christina Brisson's Ohio report is sponsored by Yellow Labs, now in 40 dispensaries in that state. Here she is.
In serene Springfield, Ohio, Ethan battles anxiety and persistent body pain. Seeking relief, he turns to Yellow Labs' Calm THC cream, offering tranquility via delivery technology. Massaging in the cream, Ethan feels waves of peace and serenity easing his anxiety and tension. Empowered by the remarkable relief, he sets out on a journey towards healing and renewal. Drawn to Yellow Labs' transformative offerings, the Calm THC cream becomes a beacon of comfort, soothing both his physical and emotional pain.
Hi, I'm Christina Brisson with Over the Top Renovations with your weekly cannabis report from Ohio with Cannabis Coast to Coast News. So this week I'm going to talk about something fun with Chef Travis Peterson, who's traveling with his restaurant and culinary skills, where he makes numerous cannabis foods and you can actually choose the level of your cannabis you would like. None, medium, high, whatever suits you and your tolerance level. And another thing I'm going to touch on since the elections and all the politics is that here in Ohio we have a 10% tax on cannabis. Of that 10% tax, 36% of that 10% is supposed to go to a fund for social equity and jobs, which has a number of programs it does to support people in housing, in dealing with old laws and getting people set free. Well, now we're here at a year and there's still no rules set. There's a website and you can sign up for an email, but there's no information. So this is something we want to start getting in on more with Ohio and trying to figure out how we get this stuff to use. With as much sales as we have, there's a lot of money to be had there. Additionally, in the next couple weeks, I hope to be talking to you about a new business with more to come on that. Thank you, Ohio. This is your weekly cannabis report. I am Christina Brisson with Over the Top Renovations and Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
The Ohio Cannabis Report is supported by Yellow Labs and BetterWaysToTHC.com. Search for Yellow Labs near me and find one of 40 dispensaries in Ohio carrying these amazing mists and creams.
In Massachusetts, the Cannabis Control Commission released health and safety guidelines for its state growers and operators this week. It was 2 years ago that a TruLeaf worker with asthma breathed in the ground cannabis dust in one of their facilities and had a fatal attack. OSHA fined TruLeaf, the Cannabis Control Commission fined TruLeaf, and that MSO pulled out of the Bay State. This week, there was a major conference for the indigenous cannabis operators on Native American land, and Tina Tasaka has more from Nevada.
I'm Tina Tasaka with 420 Technologies, and this is the Nevada and Tribal Nations report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Following the elections, the Indigenous Cannabis Industry Association hosted its third annual National Indigenous Cannabis Policy Summit on November 13th through the 15th in Washington, D.C. The event gathered tribal leaders, officials, businesses, healthcare professionals, veterans, and advocates to address cannabis-related challenges in Indigenous communities. Educational sessions included experts like Judge Mary Celeste, Dr. Sherman Home, and Shinnecock Nation's Shanae Bullock. I wish I could mention all the amazing speakers and sponsors. Please see more at indigenouscannabis.org. Cannabis operator Deep Roots Harvest in Nevada is expanding and recently secured $30 million from Chicago Atlantic to expand across Nevada. Currently, Deep Roots has a standalone cultivation and processing facility in the Silver State. It runs 5 dispensaries and plans to open one more in December 2024. Deep Roots Harvest plans for expansion, and it includes additional retail and expansion of cultivation assets across Nevada. Is everyone getting ready for the expo for marijuana in Las Vegas? MJBiz Con is just around the corner beginning December 3rd. There are events to fill your days and nights indeed. Check out all the special events over the 3-day conference.
MJBiz Con has become the industry standard.
It's the biggest party in the space, right? It's kind of a must attend.
This is the biggest, most important cannabis conference in the world.
This has sort of become one of those foundational points of the year where you come to reconnect, you come to build business relationships, you come for new opportunities. Kind of a non-negotiable as far as the annual cannabis calendar goes.
I always kind of like to geek out at the expo.
I'm really excited to kind of walk around the trade show and just see all the booths and see what technology's out there.
There are so many highlights to mention. Here are 3 exciting lineups. MJBiz Con created a new partnership with Gangier to bring its esteemed Gangier product specialist training to MJBiz Con. You can earn your Gangier product specialist for $399. There's an all-day Women in Leadership Forum, and this year Blunt Brunch has teamed up and will have an empowering lunch. Associations Day will connect the cannabis world to over 40 nonprofits and associations driving our industry forward. Many of us here at Pro Cannabis Media will be buzzing around, and we hope to see you there. In the meantime, you can download our app to watch our shows anytime and on the go, PCM TV. That's it for the Nevada highlights and Tribal Nations. I'm Tina Tasaka with 420 Technologies and Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
It's been a while since we heard from Brandon Jones in Missouri, but the man from B Green Distribution is back this week with a recap of what's been going on in his state. Here's Brandon.
Hey everybody, it's Brandon Jones with B Green Distribution with the Missouri Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. And yes, I'm back. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Had a little stuff that, you got to deal with in life sometimes, but I am very grateful to be back here and bringing you the news from the great state of Missouri. And if you notice over my shoulder, I'm at CPKC Stadium where the Kansas City Current women's soccer team's playing in a playoff game this weekend. So pretty exciting news. And if you didn't know, Missouri, yes, we are very important in the cannabis realm. We actually passed $1.4 billion in sales. And just a little bit over 2 years, we've reached that mark, passing much more states that have been here longer times like Nevada, Colorado, and Arizona. Yes, Missouri has taken off a lot of because of the states surrounding us, but also because the people here in Missouri love their cannabis. Another couple big stories happening here is there was a little deal where they were double sales taxing people by providing a county tax on top of a city tax. So they were providing 3% for one, 3% for another. And there was a little ruling on Tuesday that said they're not going to be able to double tax anybody. So 3% is going to be returned unless obviously that gets appealed. So that process has started. But we sure hope that they're not any more double taxing, where instead of just 3% sales tax, they're charging you 6%. One final story that's been going on here since 2018 when the Farm Bill passed, but we're seeing a lot more attention now because of a little bit dispute between the regulated market here for cannabis sales and the shops that are allowed to sell CBD. So what they're calling intoxicating hemp is sold here throughout the state of Missouri because there is no enforcement agency to stop anybody from selling it. So for example, you can go to a gas station and get CBD or intoxicating hemp flower that looks the exact same as some of the cannabis flower you'll get inside of a dispensary. So now the dispensary owners don't really like the competition, so they're having to have some more attention brought to this situation. So now there's lobbyists on the other side trying to see if that intoxicating hemp can be taken off all the shelves. I do want it to be tested and regulated, and there should be an enforcement agency to make sure the policies are being followed, but I don't understand why the policy for not allowing people to have hemp should be in place. As long as there's somebody to enforce it, make sure it's safe and secure for everyone and do it the right way, I'm all for plain over pill medicine. So yes, it's me, Brandon Jones with B Green Distribution with the Missouri Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
And finally, tonight, the cannabis industry is getting some advice from the beer industry on how to end prohibition. After all, it was beer and alcohol that was prohibited from 1920 to 1933 in this country. So they do have some history with righting some of history's wrongs. The Beer Institute, a national trade organization that has been around since the Civil War, is offering cannabis some guiding principles for regulating intoxicating hemp and cannabis products. The beer industry believes the decision to legalize these products should be made by American voters, state legislatures, and federal policymakers. The principles are in regards to revenue, regulation, responsibility, and research. All are necessary, and at last check, that's exactly what the industry is trying to do, right? Well, that'll do it for this week's Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I'm Alaina Pinto. Remember, it's a whole new world of weed out there. Use it responsibly, and we'll see you next time.
I think I messed up. Did you know there's a place that covers all the cannabis news you need? Welcome to Pro Cannabis Media, your go-to for all things cannabis. PCM is the CNBC of weed, bringing you the latest news and talk shows with a twist. We've got 16 state correspondents and multimedia journalists from around the US and Canada.
Hey everybody, it's Brandon Jones with Be Green Distribution with the Missouri Cannabis Report.
I'm Karen Black from Greenfinger Consulting with the Arizona Cannabis Report.
I'm Amy Carter from Michigan Weedsters.
Andrew Behringer here reporting from Washington, D.C.
Debbie Fazy with the Canadian Toke of the Week.
It all started back in 2018 when founder Jimmy Young kicked off the In the Weeds podcast. His mission? Documenting the fight to end cannabis prohibition. Fast forward to today and we've got Cannabis Coast to Coast with Alaina Pinto, delivering the nation's only TV-style cannabis news show.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Cannabis Coast to Coast News, Pro Cannabis Media's weekly roundup of the news from the industry. I'm Alaina Pinto.
As of August 2024, PCM has racked up over 1.2 million views and 14.5 million impressions on our YouTube channel. With 15,000 subscribers and growing, our reach is spreading like wildfire. PCM's website, YouTube, Rumble, Discord, Roku, Twitch, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and even our very own PCM TV app. Get your cannabis news fix with Pro Cannabis Media. We're here to keep you informed and entertained. Stay tuned and stay lifted.